Não, a gente prefiro casar, que eu tava casar até agora. Eu não coloquei você do táxi, aqui deve estar mais menos lá fora. Você não tinha lá para eu deixar, que nem eu. Já vi esse minha amiga foi isso. Acho que não. Eu fiquei de cara com o preço que ela pagou. Se eu estivesse trabalhando, eu ia pagou. Você está na frente das vezes, tem que responder as perguntas. Ninguém vai fazer. Por isso está demorando. Beleza.
Okay, good morning everybody officially.
Good morning.
Let's get started. And I see some new faces. For anybody who doesn't know me, my name is Renata, or Renata, or whatever resembles it, I'll answer to. So we're going to start by reading a text from The Way, the Truth, and the Life, Caminho, Verdade e Vida, and it's text number 25 called Be Calm. Jesus said, "Tell the people to sit down." In the Gospel of John, chapter 6, verse 10. And then Emmanuel expands, saying, "This passage from the Gospel of John is one of the most significant. It takes place when a crowd of nearly 5,000 people out in the midst of nature are in need of bread. The disciples are worried. Philip says that not even 200 denarii would be enough to solve the unforeseen problem. Andrew brings the master a boy who has 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. All the disciples discuss the matter. Jesus, however, receives the morsel. Morsel is like little bite, little piece. Jesus, however, receives the morsel, believing in its priceless significance. He tells them to have everyone sit down, and for there to be order and harmony. And to everyone's amazement, he distributes the food to all. The greatness of this lesson is profound. Starving for peace, people beg for the Christ's assistance. They talk about him, pray for his help, and wait for him to do something. However, they are unable to establish inner order so that they may receive heavenly resources. They mix Jesus with their imprudent acts and crazy anxieties and their wrongful desires. Of course, they despair and become more and more misguided because they do not want to listen to the invitation to calm themselves. They do not sit down to establish order. Instead, they insist on staying imbalanced. And this is connected to what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to do an initial prayer. Let's all close our eyes. Let's take a deep breath in and out. Another deep breath in and out. And one more time, deep breath in and out. Let us now calm ourselves down, as Jesus said. Let us elevate our thoughts to God our Father, to Jesus our Master, and calm our thoughts and calm our hearts, so that we may be here today, not just in body, but in mind and spirit. Let us connect our thoughts and our feelings to our guardian angels, to the mentors of FSS. Let us open the door to the good spirits that are part of the big family that we have in the spiritual world, who guide us, who help us on our daily lives. Let us open our ears to hear their guidance, their good advice. May today here we have enough content to provoke some reflection. May we see here today something that will spark in us the will to look inside, the will to reflect, and the will to better ourselves, to improve and evolve a teeny tiny bit every day. So be it. So be it. Okay, Sunday's miracle. You turn off the light, and when you turn it on, ta-da, more people. Okay, so here we go. And today, the theme, I posed this question a little bit on purpose, because I didn't say, do I have the power to change what? Right? So this is the fourth talk, but about the third chakra. So if anybody remembers, I'm doing a series on all the 7 chakras, and today we're working on the third one. And the focus is not exactly the chakra. The chakra just helps understand what virtue or what essential feeling is connected to that chakra, to help us understand why we may or may not be imbalanced, like the text says. Okay? And also to help us figure out, if I'm not balanced, how can I be? How can I bring that imbalance to balance? So that's the goal today. Let's see if we'll get there. So first of all, for anybody who doesn't know or who hasn't seen it, we have 7 main chakras. We actually have hundreds, but there are the 7 main ones, and the other ones are smaller ones. And what are chakras? Oh, come on. Some people are seeing this for the 4th time. Help me out.
Circles of energy.
Circles of energy. Yeah, the word chakra in Sanskrit means circle. And that illustration on the right actually shows us how they work. They are centers of energy, they are circles, but they are like spirals that don't stop. They expand and contract, expand and contract. So think of a coil, you know, like the ones that we used to play with. So think of a coil. So it contracts and expands, depending on how much energy we channel, in or out. Okay? So far, so good?
Yeah.
Okay, if you guys have any questions, please ask. And if I don't know the answer, Misty knows. Okay, so, and now I ask you, how are chakras related to Spiritism? Who came up with the idea? Some people might be thinking, Renata, you're mixing things up. You're in the wrong place. This is not for a Spiritist center. Is there any connection?
Energy. Yeah, spirits and energy.
Exactly. Have you ever seen the word chakra in like Spiritist books? Like André Luiz, Filomeno de Miranda. Have you ever seen the word chakra there?
Yes, but they use a different word.
Ah, exactly. So, I have a major, my university degree is translation and interpretation, so I had no option but to read Shakespeare, so I'm gonna cite Shakespeare. A rose, by any name, is still a rose.
Yeah.
So, in Spiritism, we use a different word or expression, but it's exactly the same. In the books of André Luiz, you're going to find the term force center. That's the same as chakra. Okay? So it's not unrelated. I am not in the wrong place. I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. Now, another question that most of you who are seeing this for the fourth time already know. Where are our chakras located? Are they located in our physical body? No. Where are they?
They're spirits.
Exactly. They are located in our per-spirit. So the whole idea, for example, of acupuncture in Brazil, doing is very famous. So it's basically just pressure points with your fingertips. And those points would be equivalent to mostly the smaller chakras. And they are all little channels of energy. So, when people say, in the sole of your feet, there's an equivalent point to every organ in your body. That's what it means. There is a little channel, a little connection from that point, like this is, for example, the point for digestion. So there is a little energy filament, a little energy tube, if you want, that connects this point to my digestive system. So that's how it works. And we can stimulate them in the physical body, but they are actually located in the per-spirit. And because that's not accurate to say everything, but the universe moves with electricity, right? And that's where metal needles come in acupuncture. It's to help conduct that electricity, the electromagnetic field. Hopefully that makes more sense now. And somebody who wasn't really sure if people who do acupuncture are crazy or not, they aren't. Okay? You just need to find a good professional. That's a different story. But that's how the idea works. Okay? So far so good. Any questions? No? And here, just to prove that I'm not trying to fool anybody, is a small passage from the book Entre a Terra e o Céu. In English, it's the opposite, between heaven and earth, where Ministro Clarencio minister, talks to André Luiz about it. So he talks about the force centers or chakras. And he says that when by acts contrary to the divine law, our mind harms the harmony of any one of our soul's force centers. So here he is already telling us, our soul. So we know it's not in the physical body. So whenever our acts, contrary to the divine law, by acts contrary to the divine law, our minds harms the harmony of one of our soul's force center. What is it our mind that harms the harmony?
It's a thought.
Everything starts with thoughts that become emotions that become actions, right? So everything starts with the thought, including reflection to figure out if something is good or bad, if a decision I'm making is the best for me or not. So everything starts in the thought. And then it becomes feelings or emotions or feelings, and then they become actions. So this is the reason why he says our mind harms the harmony of one of our four centers. It is naturally enslaved to the effects of the unbalancing action. So, for example, repetitive thoughts of a specific nature will enslave us, will connect us. We're going to get sort of addicted to a vicious cycle, and that's what's going to be harmful. Thus, assim, in this way, making the toil is work, making the work of readjustment necessary. What is work of readjustment? So he's talking about the mind harming the harmony. We become unbalanced. So, in simpler words, we break something. If you break something, what do you need to do?
Fix it.
How do we fix?
Balance.
We work to adjust it. How?
By following divine laws and building virtues.
That comes after. With every opportunity of reincarnation that we have. Every opportunity to be reborn is an opportunity to work, to readjust whatever we harmed ourselves. Right? You break it, you buy it, as we see in the stores. So we break it, we fix it. And how do we fix? We need opportunities. And God gives us those opportunities as reincarnations. Yeah?
Just curious, Renata, because you were talking about where these four centers are located, how it's in the perispirit.
Yeah.
Based on what this passage says, does it suggest that it's actually in our soul? So it's in our spirit, these four centers?
Our spirit doesn't have a shape or form. And because they are located in specific places equivalent to parts of our bodies, then it's our spiritual body. This goes back to something from, let's say, more of the beginning of the Spirit's book, where the Spirits explain to Kardec that our perispirit and our physical bodies are always formed from the materials and resources, elements available in each planet. So the idea of saying that it's in our soul is more like our perispirit is not going to be made from the same material here in Mars, in Jupiter, and so on. So by giving the idea of soul, it keeps our individuality and identity. So no matter where you are or what shape or material your perispirit's made of. I understand your question, but it's the soul itself doesn't have a shape. So you can't say the brain of my soul, but you can't say the brain of my perispirit.
But does the soul house these four centers, or does the perispirit? So without the perispirit, there wouldn't be a fourth center.
Yes,
Okay.
but there is no soul without a perispirit. Whatever shape or material it takes, however dense or rarefied it is, there is no soul without perispirit, other than God. For all of his creations, the perispirit is a must. Even when we reach the stage of pure spirits, we still have a perispirit.
Okay. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Does anybody have any? It was a very good question. All right. So these are the locations. So we are going to work on number 3 today. So I have two different charts. And today we're going to focus on the 3rd chakra. So the name is solar plexus, and the function, so we're going to skip one. The function is power. So this is close to our stomach area, around our belly button area. And the function of the energy in this chakra is power. Okay? Now, like we said before, the chakras can expand or contract, and they are a channel for energy. So when they are balanced, yay, wonderful. When they are unbalanced, they can be unbalanced in two ways, right? Do you remember Goldilocks, Cachinhos Dourados? Remember the story? You don't? Ah! She goes into the bear family house, and in the bear family there is Mama Bear, Papa Bear, and Baby Bear. And there's porridge on the table that was too hot, and they left the house to walk around while it cooled down. So Goldilocks has no notion of personal space and property, so she goes into a house that is not hers, so it's a break-in, and she tries their porridge. One of them is too hot, the other one is too cold, and one of them is just right. So the balance is just right. But in terms of energy, the two possible imbalances are not enough or too much, right? So not enough, too much, just right. We want to be in the just right. However, in a planet of trials and expiations, it's more like we have moments of just right and more moments of not enough or too much. We are working towards just right most of the time. Is it making sense? Yeah? Okay. So in terms of the chakra, the third chakra, whose function is power, when we're talking about not enough, hypo means under. So hypoactivity, not enough energy going into that chakra, is the feeling of powerlessness. Does everybody know powerlessness? When you feel like you have no power. Okay? In Portuguese, we use the word impotência, but in English, this word is connected to sexual dysfunction, so we don't use that word. So it would be powerlessness, helplessness. And when we have too much, we're talking about omnipotence, and we're talking about arrogance or abuse of power. Because arrogance, the word exists in English as well, and sometimes it's just a prideful person, but here we're not just talking about a prideful person. We're talking about a person who abuses their power and tries to control others. Okay? They are similar, omnipotence and arrogance. I would say they are in the same group, in the same family, but they are a little different. We're going to see each one. Okay? So far, so good? So just right, we have power. Not enough energy in that chakra. We feel powerless. And too much energy, we feel like God. Right? We feel we have the right to control other people because they're not good enough to do it. Right? So far, so good? Okay. And then the other chart talks about the essential feeling and the egoic feeling. So again, we're talking about the third chakra. So it's in the solar plexus, around our stomach area. The function is power. And when we talk about not enough energy or too much energy, like powerlessness and the omnipotence and arrogance, they are connected to feelings. So what we don't want is the egoic feeling. And the egoic feeling is non-acceptance. It's refusal to accept that either we're not God, or second, we're not supposed, I won't say we can't because we can and we do, but it's not right. We're not supposed to abuse our power, to overpower other people and control their lives. Make sense? And the essential feeling, the feeling that we want to feed and develop, that is gonna balance our third chakra and make it just right, is the essential feeling of acceptance. Does it make sense or not yet?
Acceptance of what?
I love those questions. Acceptance of what? Perfect. Ta-da! Here we go. So, initial reflections. I usually like to pose questions for us to reflect. So it's just in our minds, we can answer to ourselves, and later we'll try and come back and see if we feel comfortable to answer them out loud. Everybody's welcome to speak up when we come back. For now, I just want us to reflect on these questions. So, what power or powers do I have? That's the first question we need to ask ourselves. What does power even mean? Is it physical? Is it emotional or psychological? Let's think. Do I have the power to change? So that was the title. And like I said, it was sort of misleading on purpose. Because change what? Do I have the power to change things? Maybe. Do I have the power to change situations? Do I have the power to change other people? Do I have power to change myself? Do I have power to change the past? And it looks like a silly question, but it will make sense later. Because even though we know we don't have the power to change the past, we still occupy ourselves with the past. We still waste time and energy thinking, what if, even though we know we can't change it. So it's very important to reflect on how we deal with the past. Can we change the future? Some people think that the future is predetermined. It's written, whatever I do, it won't change. Can I change the present? Do I have the power to change the present? Is it easy to accept anything that I cannot change? For some people, it might be easier than for some others. Who do we think would have trouble accepting something they cannot change as a stereotype?
Perfectionist?
Perfectionists, control freaks. Yeah, because they are different. One can be the other, but not necessarily. Perfectionists usually are control freaks, but control freaks aren't necessarily perfectionists. They could just be having a power trip. Is acceptance a passive virtue or essential feeling? Because, you just accept. So let's think if we think it's... There's one more. Wait for the last. Do we think it's just a matter of not acting as a perfectionist, not acting as somebody who feels helpless? Is it just a matter of not doing something? Is it passive? And the last question, what is the path to develop acceptance? Like, how do I get there? It's easier said than done, always. So how? Where do I even get started? Right? Okay, so let's go for a summary of the third chakra, or the solar plexus chakra. So the function is power. So the energy in this area is connected to power. So again, the hypoactivity, when we don't have enough energy, we feel powerless. It's the feeling of powerlessness. Say that 5 times fast. The hyperactivity, when we have too much, it's the feeling of omnipotence. Does everybody know omnipotence?
Yeah.
Feeling all powerful. And arrogance, or abuse of power. So like I said, not arrogance in terms of being proud, I'm rich, I'm better, but in terms of actions, of abusing our powers and trying to subdue other people. The essential feelings responsible for the balance: acceptance, like we saw in the chart, and surprise, surprise, gratitude, that is connected to which chakra? The second. And humility and meekness, which are connected to the first chakra. If we look again backwards, they are sort of cumulative. Why? Is it easy for a very, very prideful person to accept something? If something happens in my life that I am absolutely not grateful for, is it easy to accept?
No.
So you see where this is going?
No.
The more we develop the previous feelings, the more natural it's going to become to ease into the next. So when we talk about the fourth chakra, it's going to be all of this plus the feeling of the fourth, because we build on it. The more we develop from number 1 up, the more natural the next one is going to become. Because it's like we're building a very solid base, and then we can keep going up. Okay? It doesn't mean this is only for learning purpose. It doesn't mean that I can't have gratitude if I'm not humble or meek. That's not what it means. It means that the more we practice one, the more natural the sequence is going to become. Okay? But we do exercise them interchangeably, depending on the moment and situation. Okay? So this is just for learning purpose, to help us understand how the virtues and feelings are all connected and related. Okay? The egoic feelings responsible for the imbalance. So refusal to accept, non-acceptance, or denial. In some situations we can use the word denial, in some it's going to mean something different. Ungratefulness, the opposite of gratitude. Pride and rebellion, the opposite of humility and meekness. Right? So, about the function, about power. What kind of power? Now we're going to see what they mean by power in terms of energy. It's necessary for the maintenance of life. Okay? So, exercising our power. In this case, both physically, emotionally, and psychologically. Right? So physically in terms of basic survival, of keeping our bodies alive. And then we move on in Maslow's pyramid. So you have the basic needs, and then as you go up, you move on to feeling good, being happy, being well adjusted. So all of those things are part of maintaining life. So we can maintain it as a very basic level, and we can keep building. And then the power is going to mean something a bit different in each case, and we're going to see it. So power to take actions of self-transformation in order to evolve to relative perfection. So now we're not talking about physical power anymore. Now we're talking about inner power. If I don't like, do I have the power to change a situation? If I don't like a situation, if I feel unsafe, threatened, or just uncomfortable, it's important to have power to change that situation. Okay? Even if it's related to feelings. I had a very negative reaction to something. I didn't like the way I reacted. It's within my power to do something about it, if I'm balanced. Power to choose between one path or another. So again, remember, we're talking about the function of power, and then we're going to talk about the not enough and the too much as well. So this is ideally, it's what it's for. So the purpose is to be able to have the power to choose between one path or another. Doesn't matter if the path is right or wrong, but to have the power to make the decision. Use our free will. Power to be capable of leading one's own life and to be happy. Unfortunately, sometimes we surrender, we relinquish, we give that power to someone else. Sometimes we believe other people are supposed to make us happy. Or we believe that we are not happy because of so and so, this and that. Right? So far, so good? Perfect. So when the chakra is balanced, when it's just right, the person uses their power to guide, help, advise other people if they want cooperation. Because forcing that guidance, help, or advice onto someone else is not power. It's arrogance or omnipotence. Right? So if it's just right, we have the ability to do, but we know enough not to force it on anybody else, or not to deny it to someone else who needs it. Okay? The person uses the power to make decisions that will lead to happiness. And in this case, we're talking about our own happiness. So it's not just using our free will, but it's using our free will in the best possible way, which will lead to happiness. What is the virtue connected to free will that will help us in that sense? Quiz. Can anybody guess? What virtue that when connected to free will lead us to make these decisions?
Discernment.
100%. Free will alone, it's just the power of choosing. Free will plus discernment, it's the power of choosing what's best for us. And that's where reflection enters. Transformation for the better. So the power to transform ourselves for the better serving as an example to others. So this is what real power looks like. We don't have to force it on anybody, not even ourselves. We don't have to feel like we can't do it because we're not good enough, or for whatever, because someone else is doing it for us, or we think they are. So this is real power. Self-knowledge. Know thyself. Conhece a ti mesmo. So this is real power. Just right. Really balanced. Now let's see the options we don't want. So in the hyperactive, so too much power will lead to omnipotence. So it's when people think they have the power to make choices on behalf of others and live their lives for them, stopping these people from going through their own experiences, which would lead them to personal growth. So when I make a decision, and please understand that we're not talking about small children. Parents are supposed to guide their children. We're talking about, for example, a parent of a grown-up person who still wants to make their decisions for them. They're taking away the person's opportunity to learn, to evolve on their own. It's the absolute opposite of charity and of love. They may think they're doing it because of love, but no, it's because they feel omnipotent. It's because they feel that they can make better decisions than that person. Be it their child, their partner, their friend, their parents, doesn't matter who. But again, we need discernment. If there is a parent who is not well enough mentally, let's say dementia, let's say they are unconscious in a hospital bed and can't make decisions. So we need to have discernment to understand what is the difference. It's not like, oh no, it's leave it to them. Most of the time, in normal situations, yes, but we need to understand that there are situations where taking the lead will help somebody who really can't. The problem is if they can, if they are capable and we do it, then it's omnipotence. Okay? But sometimes those people will need our help because they're not in a state, level, point, whatever, to make that decision themselves. So discernment and common sense. I don't like to use the word common sense because common sense is not common. So let's use discernment. These people idealize themselves. They think about themselves to be more intelligent and more capable than others. Therefore, they wish to direct other people and interfere in their lives. Because what do my kids know? What does my 17-year-old know? Sometimes way more than me. So for parents of older children, it's a delicate balance to learn when to transition from directing, ordering, to giving a bit more of orientation and ordering when they're not making good choices, and then just orientation, and let them grow through their own experiences. And again, it's not black and white. It depends on each person. Everybody's different. But discernment. But discernment is our best friend in that situation. And discernment is not something that we're necessarily born with, but it's absolutely something we can develop. And should. Okay, then the other side of the too much, the still hyper, is arrogance or abuse of power. So it's when people force others and these other people become subjugated. It's like they don't have any strength or will of their own. These people idealize themselves to be superior to others and force other people to submit because they think others are inferior. We can see this a lot in workplaces. A lot.
Even in government.
I don't know if I would use even
Yeah.
or a lot.
Especially.
Yeah.
Particularly.
Yeah. I would use something a little stronger than even. So it can be physical or intellectual. They force the other person to change in order to submit to their will. And I think a good modern expression that my kids use all the time is the gaslighting.
Mhm.
It's the intellectual part of abuse of power. You intellectually subjugate someone. You intellectually lead them to believe that they're wrong, that they're crazy, that they're stupid. Yeah, compared to you always, of course, right? So it's the whole idea of thinking that we are superior even intellectually. And here I'm just gonna make a little observation. If anybody hasn't made the connection, I'll help you connect the dots. One of the most common, widespread example of this is sarcasm. That some people think is so smart. Oh, I live for sarcasm. Oh, sarcasm is awesome. Sarcasm is intellectual abuse of power. When you're sarcastic, you are, in a way, gaslighting the other person. Because again, I'm superior, I'm smarter, I'm more intelligent. So sarcastic comments are always to lower the other person or action or situation. So it always puts others down and brings us up. So, food for thought. If I used to be extremely sarcastic until I figured this out, and I felt really, really bad, because the truth is, sarcasm is cool to whoever is throwing it at other people, but whoever is receiving, it's hurtful. It's very hurtful.
Whenever someone does that, I feel like I see you. I see what you did there, but I will address it later.
Yeah. Great, I love it that you're smart, but why don't we use that intelligence for kindness?
Yeah, well, they don't have it. It speaks for themselves, right? Like, so,
Yeah.
I see you. It's okay.
So there are some things that our modern society it's like they're turning bad things into good or desirable things, and they're not. But anyway, sorry, I digressed. Hypoactive. So when I don't get enough energy in the chakra of power, what's going on there? It's the feeling of being incapable of choosing the path in their own lives and of being happy. So we feel incapable of making our own choices. We feel incapable of making ourselves happy. Because many times we give that power to someone else. And when you give someone else the power, you're taking it away from you. I know it sounds like it's the same thing, but it's not. You're feeling you're not worthy of being happy. Feeling of subservience or servility and incapacity. So, feeling like I'm not capable of leading. I have to be led. I'm not capable of doing. I'm only capable of serving. Not everybody is a born leader, but in terms of our own lives, we have to be the leaders of our own lives. And again, that's a virtue, a quality that can be developed. Feeling of not being able to do things or to control anything. So it's like I can't change it, whatever. Don't care anymore. Feeling of not being able to achieve anything in life. Believing that others have power over us. Make sense? So, just as an example, you know when we say, that person annoys me. You make me feel like an idiot. You make me sad. You make me mad. Or you make me happy. I think we've all heard and probably said some of those, or do, did, do, will do several times a day. And then if we think from the perspective of what we just saw about power, there are better options for that. Because again, when I say, Attila annoys me.
I could appreciate it.
My kids make me feel like an idiot when they grab the phone from my hand and say, Mom, that's not how you do it. Right? My kids make me happy when they succeed in life. Or my kids make me mad. My son makes me mad when he doesn't put the dishes in the dishwasher. Can we, before I give what would be a better choice, can we think of a reason why those are not good options? Based on everything we talked about power.
Because you're talking to the person and not the behavior.
You're correct there. I was expecting something else, but you are correct.
You are giving them power over you.
Yeah.
And you're also giving them power, yes.
Well, because you're also choosing to feel that way. Like you're choosing to be annoyed, but you have control.
Sometimes not consciously, right? Sometimes we don't choose consciously. So, annoyance, idiocy, sadness, happiness, anger. Who is feeling that? Whose feelings are those?
Right.
Why am I giving power to someone else to something that I feel?
Because it's easier.
There's, the whole blame game as well. But yes, they are my emotions. So the moment that I admit that those emotions are mine, consciously, that's the moment when I take my real power back. Because the truth is, if I don't let it, if I reflect and if I understand the process, nobody has the power to make me annoyed, feel like an idiot, happy, sad, angry. It doesn't mean that I'm not gonna feel that, but I am not giving other people the power to make me feel that way. So again, we can still feel like that in those situations, but we bring it back to us because it's my feeling, it's my emotion. So I feel annoyed by Attila's attitude. I feel like an idiot when my kids grab the phone from my hand. They don't have the power to do that to me. I still feel that, and it's up to me to reflect and understand why do I feel like that. It's a separate conversation, but by going back to the I feel, I take back my own power. I am not giving that power to anybody. Because they cannot work on that for me. They cannot fix it for me. Only I can. And that answers the question, can we change someone else? And also the question, can we change ourselves? Right? We take back the power that is ours. Let's not give that power to anybody. Because only we can fix it. Because it's not pleasant to feel annoyed, like an idiot, mad, sad. And it's also not pleasant to think that my happiness depends on someone else. Right? So instead of feeling happy because my kids did something, I should feel happy for them. Because they are not the ones who make me happy. I make myself happy. But when they do well, I feel happy too. But for them, because it's good for them.
And I also think when you say, I feel annoyed by his attitude, for example, kind of goes back to what Carol was saying about having the option to feel another way.
Mm-hmm.
It helps you to pay attention, okay, why am I feeling this way?
Yes, but when we put it on someone else, we don't have to.
Yeah.
Because it's extra work. Right? Perfect. Awesome. Okay, so the feeling of acceptance is what's going to help us balance the chakra. Because all those questions about changing, can I change this, can I change that, whatever we can change, we take the power to start changing. Because change doesn't happen like this, and we know it. So we take back the power to start changing. Right? But the things that we can't change, like the past, we accept. We accept our limitations. What I can or can't do, should or shouldn't do, already know how to do, don't know how to do yet. We need to remember, and this goes back to the first chakra, humility and meekness. They are the qualities of apprentices. We need to remember we are apprentices of life. In terms of the planet's classification, we are only in number 2. We're moving on to number 3. We're still down here. Why are we expecting perfection from ourselves? Right? We're not being gentle to ourselves. We are apprentices of life. So accept that we are in the process of learning, improving, evolving. Accept that we were created by God for relative perfection. Why? Relative perfection.
Only God is perfect.
Exactly. Question 115. We were all created simple and ignorant. Each one received a mission. And through the truth, we're going to get closer to God and achieve pure happiness. Getting closer to God is not a physical idea. We're talking about God's attributes. We're talking about God's immateriality, perfection, all of that. But God is the only one that is absolute. So even as pure spirits, we're never going to reach God. Otherwise, there would be more than one. So relative, because only God is absolute. And the omnipotent people do believe that they are absolute too. We need to accept who we truly are at this moment. We're not perfect, but we are perfectible. Right? We're here But we will get all the way up here. We will. That's the only determination. How we get there is our choice, but it's a determination. And how do we work on acceptance?
Give us the tools.
Is it passive? I think the best answer is another question. Is it easy to accept?
No.
No, then it's not passive. Then we have to work on it. So, it's not passive. We need to exercise acceptance. And that's going to happen through reflection, through understanding what our real power is or could be so that we can work towards it. And reflect what power we have over the past. Do we have any power over the past? We do.
Yes.
We can't change the past, but we have power over the past. What power is that?
To change how you see it.
The power to learn from it. We can't change it, but we have the power to learn from it if we choose to do so. Yes, Mari?
No, she said something very interesting, and I agree. How we see the past.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can change your perspective of the past, and then maybe something that was very hurtful,
Yeah.
you understand that maybe the other person didn't mean that in that way.
Yeah.
So it changes how you perceive it.
Exactly. It changes you.
And
right?
change the lesson as well.
Absolutely. The future. Do we have power over the future? Yes, 100%. Absolutely. Free will is a divine law. Like I said, the only determination is we're gonna reach the level of pure spirits, but we have the power to choose how long it takes us to get there. That won't be taken away from us. Present. Do I have power over the present? 100%. Absolutely. My feelings. Do I have power over my feelings? After what we just saw?
You should.
Yes, we can if we want to. If we understand the process, then we can have that power. If we choose not to give it to anybody else. In closing, the doctrine of Jesus constantly teaches obedience and resignation, two virtues which are the companions of mildness and are very active. Okay, so we're talking about obedience and resignation. They are very active. It looks like they're passive, but they aren't because they're not easy. Although man wrongly confuses them with denial of sentiment and free will. So resignation is not giving up. Resignation is surrendering. Actually, this is from Lazarus, and he's gonna explain beautifully what resignation is now. Obedience is the consent of reason. I love the word consent because that means we reflected and we understand that we can choose yes or no. Resignation is the consent of the heart. Once we understand, once we reflect, once we use discernment to understand a situation, resignation is not passive, it's active. Because we consent, we agree, we feel that even though this is not what I wanted to do, it is what's best for me. I really wanted to have that fourth donut. It's not good for me. So sometimes what we want, many times what we want, is not what's best for us. And resignation is the consent of when we know and we feel. Both are active forces since they carry the burden which has fallen upon them due to the foolish revolt or rebellion. So when we rebel, we don't want to resign, we don't want to be obedient, we don't want to obey. We want to do the opposite of everything. Jesus was the very... Oh, no, I skipped something, right? Yeah, the coward cannot be resigned because, again, they don't understand and they don't feel like that any more than the prideful and selfish can be obedient. A proud person, they don't follow, they lead. They don't need to obey anybody, even God. Jesus was the very incarnation of these virtues, which were despised by material antiquity. I highly recommend, like this, the whole item. This is the Gospel according to Spiritism, chapter 9, Blessed be the meek and peacemakers, item 8. I highly recommend. Lazarus says some very interesting things there that are a bit of a... But sometimes we need it. Many times we need it. I mean, I can speak for myself. I need it many times. And here are the sources. So it's this book, Energia dos Chakras, Energy of the Chakras, Health and Self-Transformation, Between Heaven and Earth, and Gospel According to Spiritism, Chapter 9, Item 8, and the course Energia Mental e Saúde Espiritual, Modules 9 and 11. Thank you so much for your patience. Of course, I'm over the time, or it wouldn't be me. If this is the first time for anybody, now we're going to do the final prayer, and then we're going to move on to the passage, okay? Passages are not mandatory, only if you feel comfortable doing it. All right. So let's close our eyes. And take a deep breath again. And now, connected to the spiritual guides of FSS, connected to our guardian angels, connected to Jesus. Let our hearts be full of gratitude for all these teachings. Let's fill our hearts with gratitude for teacher Allan Kardec, who codifies Spiritism to help us understand better, to help us, to empower us, to feel and to follow through in Jesus' steps, to help us understand that we have the power to change ourselves, that only we have that power. May our week be full of reflections, full of exercises, full of opportunities to learn and practice and bring it from knowledge into feelings, into actions. May our good thoughts become feelings and then actions. Thank you very much to everybody who is here in body, so everybody online. May we all have a very productive week. So be it.